How's it going, guys? I'm Mike, I go by Hawk, and in today's video we are going to be covering the melee weapons like I promised we would in yesterday's video. So I was fortunate and I was able to pick up all three of the melee weapons pretty easily. So first off, we've got the crowbar, and this is the most common melee weapon. You'll find it pretty easily, and it is followed by the wrench, which is also reasonably easy to find rather. And then we have the Chainblade, which is a little bit harder to find than the other two, but it's still not hard, and they all pop up at the vendor from time to time. The crowbar and the wrench respectively will be 150 credits if you find them here at the vendor, and then the Chainblade here will be 1,000. So they all have similarities. They all swing in a 3-hit pattern, with the final strike being the most powerful. Now the pattern is a little bit different between which one you're using, but they all have that 3-hit strike, with the final strike being the most powerful hit. They're all capable of blocking, which will reduce the amount of damage that you take from enemy fire by about 50%, which makes it a little bit easier to approach them or to protect yourself when you're trying to make a tactical retreat, for instance. The other benefit, they all have the ability to stun lock something, such as the raptors, the shielded walkers.
One less to worry about.
Those types of things can easily be stun locked by melee attacking them. You can also hit more than one thing with your melee attacks, although the range is limited, so you're not going to hit a lot of things, but a couple things you can kind of lock in place pretty quickly and pretty easily. Now they all do have some differences though. The crowbar here, it hits really fast and really light. The wrench hits much slower, much heavier.
Great job.
And then the Chainblade, which is kind of an in-between the crowbar and the wrench as far as damage and speed. It's really not groundbreaking in any of its aspects, other than the fact that they're all capable of parrying, but the Chainblade does it best. Now the crowbar and the wrench, when they parry, meaning you have blocked just as you've taken a shot from an enemy robot, you will return that fire. However, the crowbar and the wrench kind of send it off willy-nilly. You're not really going to be able to aim that too well. The closer you are to the robot, the more likely you are to send that bullet back into the robot, because it's going to go flying all around. Now the Chainblade, on the other hand, is kind of like a Jedi's lightsaber, in that if you block that shot, you can send it right back where you're aiming with your reticles.
Great job.
So, even at great distances, if you deflect a shot and you get that parry off, you're going to send that bolt right back into their face. So that is what the Chainblade excels at, and it makes it my personal preference, but they are all good options. The nice thing is that none of them take ammo, so they're a good fallback. I like to run, say, a marksman rifle, and then my favorite is to run the Chainblade, but I'll take whatever I can get. So a marksman rifle and one of these melee weapons as a backup, and that way you can have a low damage, or not a low damage, but rather a low ammo cost weapon to fall back on. Now, the melee weapons, they do have a quirk where currently they do not affect certain enemies. The flying enemies that will spin around and then chase you down and then explode, the really tiny ones, those are completely unaffected by melee weapons for some reason. There are also things in the world that are going to be unaffected. You can't even interact with them with the melee weapons. Enemy ships being one of those things. You can't take out an enemy ship with a melee weapon. Also, any crates, for instance, that have one of those explosive bolts on them where you bust them open with your pistol. Those things will be completely unaffected by melee weapons. Now, it's not the end of the world if you go all melee, because you do have your pistol to fall back on, and those will continue to affect those things. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where you just don't want to get close, or if you would rather bust something open that is unaffected by a melee weapon, then you can fall back on the pistol, or you can do as I do and just carry a second weapon. Overall, this is how the melee weapons work. They're a lot of fun, and go try them out, guys. And I hope you're having a good one. I'll catch you in the next one. Later.